Chapter 1: The City That Never Sleeps. Her first night in America, Sofia could not sleep. The city hummed outside her dormitory window. Sirens wailed in the distance. Neon lights flickered. Somewhere, someone laughed loudly. Somewhere else, someone cried. New York felt like the heart of the country, pumping ambition through its veins. In her first week, she visited Times Square. Giant screens flashed advertisements 20 stories high. People posed for photos beneath glowing billboards. Street performers danced, sang, and balanced on unicycles. The place was overwhelming, chaotic, and magnificent. But Sofia quickly realized something important. America was not just New York. In her journalism class, Professor Williams said, "If you want to understand this country, you must leave the coast. America is a story told in many accents." That sentence stayed with her. Chapter 2: The Road West. 2 months later, Sofia bought a used car, a slightly dented blue Ford with over 120,000 miles on it. Her friends thought she was crazy. "You're driving across the country alone?" they asked. "Yes," she said, smiling. "I want to see the real America." She began her journey heading west, leaving behind the tall buildings for rolling hills and open skies. In Pennsylvania, she met farmers who had worked the same land for generations. They spoke about crops, weather, and family traditions. In Ohio, she interviewed factory workers who had seen industries rise and fall. They talked about economic change and resilience. America, she realized, was built not only by dreamers but by workers, by hands that planted, built, repaired, and carried. Chapter 3: The South's Deep Echo. When Sofia crossed into the southern states, she felt history in the air. In Georgia, she walked through streets where civil rights leaders had once marched. She spoke to an elderly man who remembered segregation. "It wasn't so long ago," he told her quietly. "Change came because people refused to stay silent." She attended a Sunday church service in Alabama. The choir's voices rose so powerfully that she felt goosebumps on her arms. Faith, music, and community blended into something uniquely American. In Mississippi, she tasted food that seemed to tell stories of their own. Cornbread, fried chicken, sweet tea. The flavors carried African, European, and native influences. The country's diversity wasn't just visible in faces. It lived in recipes, songs, and traditions. Chapter 4: Texas Skies. Texas was bigger than Sofia had imagined. The highways seemed endless. Oil pumps moved slowly against the horizon like mechanical birds. In Austin, she met young tech entrepreneurs building software companies. In a small town outside Dallas, she met ranchers who had never left the state. "What does America mean to you?" she asked them again and again. The answers were different every time. Freedom, opportunity, responsibility, second chances. Some spoke proudly, some spoke critically, some spoke with hope, others with frustration. Sofia began to understand something complex. America was not a single idea. It was an argument, a constant conversation about what it should be. Chapter 5: The Desert and the Dreamers. In Arizona, the desert stretched wide and silent. Sofia visited Native American reservations where communities preserved languages older than the country itself. She listened to stories about land, identity, and survival. In Nevada, the bright lights of Las Vegas shimmered in the night. Casinos sparkled like jewels in the middle of dry emptiness. It was a place of risk and spectacle, another version of the American dream where fortune could change in a moment. She wrote in her notebook, "America contains extremes, wealth and poverty, noise and silence, tradition and innovation." Chapter 6: California Sun. When Sofia finally reached California, she felt as though she had crossed an entire world. In Los Angeles, she toured film studios where imaginary universes were built from wood and paint. Actors rehearsed lines that would be heard around the globe. Stories made here shaped how people everywhere imagined America. Further north in Silicon Valley, she visited tech campuses where young engineers worked on artificial intelligence, electric cars, and virtual realities. The future seemed to be under construction. And then she stood at the edge of the Pacific Ocean. The water stretched endlessly westward toward Asia. She realized she had crossed a continent, from the Atlantic to the Pacific. The United States was not just a country, it was a landscape of contrasts: mountains, plains, deserts, forests, megacities, and small towns. Each region carried its own rhythm. Chapter 7: The People in Between. On her journey back east, Sofia decided to avoid major highways. She chose smaller roads that led her through towns rarely shown in movies. In Colorado, she met hikers who believed nature was the country's greatest treasure. In Kansas, she saw fields of wheat moving like golden waves. In Illinois, she visited Chicago, where blues music drifted from open doors. Everywhere she went, she asked strangers a simple question. What keeps you here? Some said family. Some said jobs. Some said hope. A young immigrant in Minnesota told her, "This country gave my parents a chance. I want to build something that honors that." An elderly veteran in Virginia said, "We argue a lot here, but arguing means we care." Chapter 8. The Complexity of Freedom. As her road trip ended, Sofia's notebook was full. She had written about innovation and inequality, about kindness and division, about cities that glittered and towns that struggled, about protest marches and patriotic parades. She had learned that freedom in America was both celebrated and debated. It was written in laws, sung in anthems, and challenged in courtrooms. It meant different things to different people. One evening, back in New York, she climbed to the rooftop of her dormitory. The skyline glowed again before her, just as it had on her first night. But now she saw it differently. She understood that the United States was not a finished story. It was still being written, by immigrants arriving with suitcases, by students studying late at night, by workers waking before sunrise, by activists demanding change, and by dreamers driving west with nothing but hope. Sofia opened her notebook and began to write her article. She titled it, "The Endless Horizon."